Hello, miladies of inestimable value. Some people are born to fit in, others are born to correct the room. There's a reason certain women walk into a space and nothing visible happens. Yet everything subtly shifts. Conversations soften or stiffen. Masks slide slightly out of place. People feel observed without being stared at. This isn't intimidation, it isn't dominance, and it definitely isn't coincidence. It's the quiet presence of a woman who isn't here to perform, impress, or compete. She's here to exist accurately. Here's a fact most people never stop to think about. Societies don't collapse because of loud villains. They collapse because of quiet distortions that go unchallenged for too long. And every so often, a certain type of woman shows up who naturally disrupts those distortions without raising her voice, raising her hands, or raising an eyebrow for approval. She doesn't argue with delusion. She outlives it. This is where the Sigma female quietly enters the story. Not as a rebel, not as a savior, and definitely not as someone begging to be seen. She's often the woman people label as hard to read, too private, or intimidating for no clear reason. Translation: she's not emotionally available for nonsense, and nonsense knows it. What makes this even more uncomfortable for the world is that Sigma females don't rely on external validation to function. They don't need applause, permission, or a group chat to confirm their reality. While others are busy curating personalities, she's refining discernment. While others are networking, she's noticing patterns. And while others are explaining themselves into exhaustion, she's already left the room, politely, quietly, and with her integrity intact. There's a strange humor in it too. The very people who accuse her of being distant are usually the ones who benefit the most from distance. The ones who say she's too much often crumble under far less. And the ones who can't figure her out tend to spend an impressive amount of time studying her, unpaid, uninvited, and slightly stressed. This isn't a conversation about being superior. It's a conversation about being aligned, about women who didn't harden into cruelty, didn't dilute into approval-seeking, and didn't disappear into silence. They learned early that clarity is louder than chaos, and integrity doesn't need a marketing team. So if you've ever noticed a woman who seems untouched by the noise, unimpressed by the performance, and strangely grounded in a world addicted to reaction, you're not imagining it. Some women aren't just passing through this world. They're here to quietly recalibrate it. Number 1. Sigma females don't arrive to be admired, they arrive to correct imbalance. Sigma females are not here for praise, validation, or the applause of the crowd. Their purpose is deeper, sharper, and far more disruptive than being admired. When they enter a space, everything that has been tolerated, hidden, or ignored begins to shift. It's subtle, almost imperceptible at first, but undeniable once it settles. People feel it in their bones, even if they can't articulate it. Conversations stop being performative. Lies and half-truths no longer float unnoticed. Power dynamics that seemed permanent suddenly feel fragile. This is not magic. This is the natural effect of someone who exists in full alignment with their truth. They carry a presence that refuses to negotiate with falsehoods, and the world around them has no choice but to respond. The reason this unsettles people is because most human interaction thrives on compromise with the wrong elements. People cover, bend, or justify behaviors that they shouldn't, simply to avoid friction or keep appearances. Sigma females make that impossible. They don't argue with chaos. They don't confront it aggressively either. They simply embody clarity, and that clarity shines a light on imbalance. People feel exposed because exposure is exactly what's needed. They're like a mirror that doesn't flatter or shy away. They correct imbalance not through force, but through alignment. Their choices, their boundaries, their refusal to conform to dysfunction ripple outward. A room that has tolerated dishonesty or toxicity begins to rearrange itself, often without a word being spoken. They don't go looking for battles or try to prove superiority, yet their presence alone forces accountability. People are forced to reconsider their actions, to confront what they've been avoiding. This is why Sigma females are so often misunderstood, envied, or even resented. They aren't here to make life comfortable for others. They're here to recalibrate reality. They are unapologetically precise, fiercely independent, and devastatingly honest, without aggression. Being in the same space as them is a test, and anyone unwilling to face the truth feels the tension. And that tension, that's exactly the effect they were designed to have. Number 2, they are not here to be understood by the crowd, only by truth itself. Sigma females operate on a level most people aren't even aware exists. They aren't concerned with fitting into social norms, following trends, or collecting validation from the crowd. Their actions, decisions, and even silence are guided by a personal compass that responds only to truth. This makes them seem mysterious, distant, or even intimidating to those who measure life by approval, applause, or popularity. They don't chase recognition because recognition is irrelevant when your foundation is unshakable. What matters to them is alignment with what is real, not what looks good. People around them often misunderstand this, assuming that if someone isn't easily explained or categorized, they must be cold, detached, or unapproachable. In reality, Sigma females are hyper-attuned to authenticity. They see through pretense, and they navigate life based on what genuinely resonates, not what society expects. Their choices aren't designed to be digestible or relatable to the masses. They are intentionally selective, moving in ways that preserve their integrity and elevate their clarity. Because of this, they attract a certain type of energy. Not everyone can keep up, and that's by design. They aren't here to teach lessons to the ignorant or to prove themselves to those who won't understand. Their time and energy are reserved for truth and alignment, not for entertaining opinions or justifying decisions. People often feel challenged by them because their very existence exposes the superficiality and compromises others have accepted as normal. Their detachment from the need to be understood by the crowd is not arrogance, it's precision. It is the ability to move through life unapologetically, guided by an internal compass that doesn't bend for fear, peer pressure, or social expectation. This quality alone separates them from everyone else. It creates an aura of authority, quiet power, and undeniable presence. Sigma females are not defined by who gets them. They are defined by what is true, and anyone unwilling or unable to meet that standard feels the weight of their presence, often without even realizing why. Number 3, their empathy is surgical, not sentimental. Sigma females feel deeply, but they don't drown in emotion. Their empathy isn't about indulgence, sympathy, or performing kindness to appear good or relatable. It's precise, calculated, and highly effective. They know exactly when to extend compassion and when to hold back. They can sense the exact point where support becomes enabling, where comfort becomes codependency, and where helping someone actually harms them in the long run. This kind of empathy cuts through the noise of shallow emotions, exposing the reality beneath, whether people are ready to see it or not. They notice patterns in behavior and energy, often before anyone else does. They feel the subtle tension between honesty and deception, between self-sabotage and denial. Their empathy allows them to understand motives and consequences without becoming entangled in the chaos themselves. Unlike people who absorb the pain of the world and carry it as a weight, Sigma females process and respond with clarity. Their compassion is not messy, performative, or conditional. It is deliberate, strategic, and transformative. This surgical empathy makes them both magnetic and intimidating. People instinctively feel safe around them because they can trust the sincerity of their intentions. At the same time, they unsettle those who are used to emotional manipulation or shallow interactions because Sigma females don't bend their care to flatter or please. Their presence forces others to confront their own motives, their emotional blind spots, and the truths they've been avoiding. They understand that real help doesn't come from saying what someone wants to hear, but from giving them what they need to grow. It's not about being liked or avoiding confrontation. It's about creating alignment, clarity, and accountability. This is why so many people describe Sigma females as kind but cold, or heartfelt but unyielding. Their empathy is a tool of clarity, not sentimentality, and it leaves a lasting impact on everyone who crosses their path. Those who can receive it benefit. Those who resist it are exposed, often without even realizing why. Number 4. They trigger healing in others simply by refusing to self-abandon. Sigma females carry an invisible standard that forces people to confront themselves. They don't yell, they don't manipulate, and they don't lecture. They simply refuse to compromise their integrity, to dilute their values, or to shrink themselves to make others comfortable. And that refusal is catalytic. People around them start noticing their own patterns of self-abandonment, the ways they've tolerated disrespect, ignored red flags, or pretended to be someone they're not just to fit in. The Sigma female doesn't create guilt. She reflects truth back so clearly that it becomes impossible to deny. Her boundaries are not arbitrary. Every limit she sets is a mirror showing others what is acceptable to her and, by extension, what is acceptable to themselves. When someone experiences discomfort in her presence, it's rarely about her actions. It's about the gap between how they've been living and how they should be living. This is why she often becomes a catalyst for deep, uncomfortable growth in others. People may resist, resent, or even criticize her, but underneath that reaction is a stirring that forces them to examine their own lives, choices, and compromises. Her strength isn't aggressive. It's subtle and unwavering. She isn't trying to fix anyone, and she doesn't need to. The act of staying whole, unshaken, and true to herself is enough to inspire transformation. Others heal simply by witnessing a woman who refuses to abandon herself, who refuses to tolerate nonsense, and who refuses to dilute her energy for approval. It's contagious. The most extraordinary part is that she does this without intention. She doesn't measure impact or manipulate outcomes. She moves in her truth, and the ripple effects reach far beyond what she could orchestrate. People often realize later that she changed them, not through advice, pity, or coaching, but by embodying a standard of authenticity and strength they had never encountered before. Sigma females aren't healers in the conventional sense, yet their presence forces others to awaken, confront themselves, and rebuild in ways that are unavoidable, lasting, and deeply transformative. Number 5. They carry wisdom that wasn't learned, it was remembered. Sigma females often speak with a clarity that feels beyond their years, and it's not just intelligence or experience talking. Their insights, decisions, and observations have a weight that suggests they've already seen the consequences of choices before they're even made. It's as if they carry a blueprint of reality within them, something that transcends trial and error. People notice it instantly. The way she advises without hesitation, the way she responds without overthinking, the way she acts with such precision that mistakes are almost impossible. This isn't arrogance or luck. It's innate understanding. This kind of wisdom doesn't come from textbooks, lectures, or social conditioning. It comes from memory that predates conscious learning, a familiarity with life, people, and energy that most spend decades trying to piece together. Sigma females often know how to read situations and people instinctively. They see patterns that others ignore. They sense truths that others resist. When she speaks, it resonates because it cuts through pretension and noise, arriving at the essence of what matters. The effect on those around her is magnetic and unnerving at the same time. People instinctively lean in, seeking guidance or clarity, even if they can't articulate why. And yet she doesn't force her knowledge or seek to impress. Her wisdom is quiet, self-contained, and unwavering, existing as a standard that others can't manufacture or manipulate. Those who encounter her often leave feeling both inspired and exposed, because her understanding highlights where they've been blind, complacent, or dishonest with themselves. What makes this even more extraordinary is that Sigma females rarely flaunt this wisdom. They don't explain every thought or justify every decision. They operate on an internal rhythm that only those willing to observe closely can comprehend. And in a world addicted to noise, performance, and superficial advice, this kind of authentic, remembered wisdom feels rare, profound, and even slightly uncomfortable. It reminds everyone around her that true insight doesn't require a stage. It requires alignment, clarity, and the courage to exist in your truth long before anyone else is ready to understand it. Number 6, they are drawn to solitude because noise disrupts their clarity. Sigma females seek solitude not because they are lonely or antisocial, but because the world around them is overwhelmingly chaotic and emotionally dishonest. Crowds, constant chatter, and superficial interactions drain them because these environments amplify confusion and distraction. To operate at their full potential, they need space. Space to think, observe, and process without interference. Solitude isn't a retreat from life. It's a strategic pause that sharpens their mind and strengthens their presence. In silence, they recharge, reflect, and realign with their own truth, untouched by the opinions and agendas of others. Their solitude isn't passive, it's purposeful. They use it to understand patterns, notice inconsistencies, and sense energy shifts that most people miss entirely. While others might see isolation as emptiness, Sigma females see it as a lens, a way to clarify what matters, what is false, and what needs to be approached carefully. This is why they often emerge from periods of solitude with uncanny insights, unshakable composure, and a level of discernment that leaves others bewildered. They don't waste time on noise because noise clouds judgment, and clarity is their most valuable asset. Being alone allows them to protect their energy in a way that few understand. People accustomed to constant stimulation often misinterpret this as coldness, arrogance, or aloofness. In reality, solitude is their armor and their laboratory. They experiment with ideas, test their limits, and observe the world without being dragged into distractions that would dilute their focus. Their independence is not a rebellion. It is a commitment to maintaining a high standard for themselves and their surroundings. The result is a woman who moves through life with rare precision. She doesn't rush, she doesn't follow trends blindly, and she doesn't compromise her judgment to please others. Solitude allows her to operate with full awareness, making decisions that feel effortless yet are deeply calculated. People often sense her calm, almost magnetic presence, but they fail to see the hours of quiet, intentional reflection behind it. Solitude is not her weakness, it is the wellspring of her power, clarity, and the reason she always stands apart from the crowd. Number 7. Their strength confuses people because it isn't aggressive. Sigma females carry strength in a way that most people aren't equipped to recognize. It's not loud, it's not showy, and it doesn't demand attention. There's no yelling, posturing, or need to dominate a room. Yet, it's unmistakable. People instinctively sense it, even if they can't put a finger on why they feel off balance in her presence. This quiet power is confusing because it doesn't conform to the usual signals of strength that society is trained to recognize. Most people equate force, volume, or aggression with authority. Sigma females operate on a completely different wavelength. Their strength is calm, deliberate, and self-contained, and that makes it far more formidable than anything loud or performative. This kind of power unnerves insecure individuals because it exposes a truth they aren't ready to face. The strongest people don't need to prove themselves. Sigma females don't assert control over others to feel in command. They lead without titles, influence without manipulation, and create impact without seeking validation. People who try to test them quickly realize that their usual tactics, manipulation, pressure, or intimidation, simply don't work. The presence of someone so centered and self-reliant forces others to confront their own weaknesses, insecurities, and pretenses. What makes this even more striking is the contrast between her stillness and the chaos around her. While people scramble, overreact, or overcomplicate, she moves with precision, patience, and unshakable composure. This measured approach amplifies her strength because it is unassuming, yet unyielding. She doesn't compete for attention or measure herself against anyone else. Her victories are quiet but absolute, and her influence grows not through noise, but through the undeniable resonance of her presence. In a world where aggression is often mistaken for strength, the Sigma female's calm power feels almost alien. People are drawn to her, intimidated by her, and secretly fascinated by her ability to command a room without lifting her voice. Her strength is a paradox, invisible to the untrained eye, yet impossible to ignore. It is subtle, yet seismic, and it confuses everyone who has been conditioned to mistake volume for authority. Number 8. They often become scapegoats for what others refuse to face. Sigma females have a way of exposing truths that most people are desperate to ignore. They don't seek conflict, but their very presence illuminates weaknesses, lies, and dysfunctions that others have normalized or buried. The paradox is that they aren't causing these issues. They simply refuse to participate in the illusions that protect them. This makes them easy targets for blame. People resent them not because they've done anything wrong, but because their existence forces others to confront the uncomfortable realities they'd rather avoid. When a family, workplace, or social circle experiences tension or failure, the Sigma female often becomes the lightning rod, the person labeled as too sensitive, too difficult, or too much. This scapegoating isn't accidental. It happens because Sigma females operate with a level of honesty and integrity that refuses compromise. They call things as they see them, maintain boundaries that others find inconvenient, and refuse to bend themselves to soothe egos. People who thrive on manipulation, avoidance, or passive control see her as a threat, even if she isn't actively challenging them. Her refusal to participate in falsehoods or mediocrity reflects their own shortcomings, and the easiest way to externalize guilt is to project it onto her. What makes this even more remarkable is that Sigma females rarely fight these accusations in the ways expected. They don't argue, justify, or beg for approval. Instead, they hold steady, continue walking their path, and let the truth eventually reveal itself. Over time, the same people who blamed her often realize that she was never the problem. She was the mirror showing where the real problems lay. Being a scapegoat is uncomfortable, but for Sigma females, it is also revealing. It highlights their unique role in any environment, a force that exposes imbalance, insists on accountability, and refuses to soften the edges of reality. Those who attempt to scapegoat them often do so out of fear and discomfort, while those willing to observe recognize a rare clarity and strength. The Sigma female becomes a silent agent of truth, and while the world may initially resist her, Her presence ultimately forces everyone to confront the very things they've been avoiding. Number 9. They attract wounded people but refuse to become rehabilitation centers. Sigma females naturally draw attention, not because they seek it, but because their energy is rare, grounded, and unmistakably authentic. People who are broken, lost, or carrying unresolved pain are often magnetically drawn to them, sensing safety, clarity, and a level of presence they've never experienced. But here's the critical difference. Sigma females are not therapists, saviors, or fixers. They don't take on the emotional baggage of others to feel needed, validated, or indispensable. Their empathy is precise, not indulgent, and their boundaries are non-negotiable. Those who approach them hoping to be healed are often surprised to find that instead of being absorbed, their illusions and excuses are gently but firmly reflected back. This doesn't mean Sigma females lack compassion. On the contrary, they understand human suffering better than most. They can read energy, recognize trauma patterns, and see exactly where someone's self-sabotage begins. But instead of jumping in to rescue, they hold a mirror. They show what is real, what is possible, and what must change, without carrying the burden themselves. People who have spent a lifetime depending on others for their emotional survival are often unnerved by this because it exposes them. They realize quickly that the Sigma female's support comes with a condition: authenticity and accountability. The power of this approach is transformative. By refusing to become a rehabilitation center, Sigma females force people to face themselves honestly. Those willing to engage with that truth grow faster than they ever could, relying on someone else's intervention. Those unwilling are naturally filtered out, leaving the Sigma female surrounded by energy that aligns with integrity and purpose rather than drama or dependency. This dynamic makes her both magnetic and intimidating. She attracts the wounded not to carry them, but to challenge them, to hold them accountable in a way no one else will. Her presence catalyzes growth, clarity, and strength in others, not through intervention, but through unwavering authenticity. She demonstrates, silently but unmistakably, that true power lies in standing whole, independent, and unshakable, and that no one else's pain should derail that. Number 10. Their femininity doesn't beg for approval. It commands respect by default. Sigma females carry a form of femininity that isn't performative, loud, or manufactured. They don't rely on attention-seeking behaviors, social validation, or the approval of others to define their presence. Instead, their energy, poise, and self-possession naturally command respect. People notice, almost instinctively, that she moves differently, speaks differently, and interacts differently. Her confidence isn't a show. It's a reflection of someone who knows her worth, understands her power, and refuses to dilute herself to fit someone else's expectations. This is why she often disrupts traditional ideas of what a woman should be. She isn't decorative, dependent, or performative. She exists fully and unapologetically, and that alone sets a standard that others unconsciously measure themselves against. Her femininity is a quiet authority. She doesn't compete for dominance in the way many women feel pressured to in modern society, nor does she use seduction as leverage. She doesn't over-explain, over-nurture, or overcompensate. Instead, she demonstrates balance, strength with softness, independence with warmth, clarity with intuition. This duality is magnetic because it shows that femininity isn't weakness, compliance, or fragility. It is layered, intelligent, and deliberate. People sense it on a subconscious level, and it often unsettles those who are used to binary definitions of power and gender. Because she doesn't chase approval, she exposes the insecurity of those around her. People who rely on admiration or validation for influence are confused by her presence. She doesn't reward flattery, tolerate disrespect, or bend for comfort. She sets the tone by simply being herself, and her standard is unmovable. This creates a natural boundary. She attracts people who respect authenticity and repels those who cannot. In a world obsessed with performance, her femininity is a quiet revolution. It doesn't scream, it doesn't bargain, it doesn't plead. It simply exists as a force that is both undeniable and self-contained. Sigma females redefine what it means to be feminine, not through spectacle, but through presence, integrity, and the unwavering knowledge that true respect is earned by being unshakably oneself. Number 11. Their life path often includes early isolation, betrayal, or displacement. Sigma females are shaped by experiences that would break most people, yet these same experiences become the foundation of their strength and discernment. From a young age, they often find themselves isolated, not always physically but emotionally. Families, schools, and social groups fail to understand them, dismiss their perspectives, or underestimate their inner depth. This early isolation forces them to rely on themselves, to develop an internal compass that doesn't depend on approval, praise, or social validation. The world becomes both their teacher and their proving ground, and they emerge capable of navigating complexity that others barely notice. Betrayal is another recurring theme. Sigma females often encounter people who take advantage of their kindness, misinterpret their independence, or resent their clarity. These betrayals are rarely casual. They strike at a level that forces the Sigma female to confront reality unflinchingly. Instead of breaking them, these experiences sharpen their instincts. They learn early who is trustworthy, who is toxic, and who will align with their integrity. Betrayal becomes a lens through which they discern energy, character, and intent with precision. Displacement, feeling out of place, misunderstood, or at odds with conventional paths, also marks their journey. They rarely fit neatly into societal molds, traditional roles, or predefined expectations. This sense of being on the outside compels them to cultivate self-reliance, resilience, and a deep understanding of human nature. They learn to observe rather than mimic, to adapt without compromising, and to move deliberately in ways that serve their long-term alignment rather than immediate comfort. These early challenges aren't punishment, they are preparation. While others are still learning to navigate minor discomforts, Sigma females have already faced the full weight of adversity. They emerge grounded, discerning, and exceptionally independent. Their past becomes invisible armor, a source of quiet power that informs every choice, boundary, and relationship. People who meet them later may see only their calm and confidence, never realizing that it is forged in years of isolation, betrayal, and the courage to exist fully, even when the world tried to dismiss or diminish them. Number 12. Their role is not to be liked, but to be accurate. Sigma females operate on a principle that most people struggle to comprehend. They are not here to be liked, praised, or validated. Their focus is precision, truth, and alignment with reality, even when that makes them unpopular. Liking, admiration, or popularity are byproducts, never goals. This commitment to accuracy over approval sets them apart in a world that measures value by visibility, charm, or conformity. People often mistake their directness, boundaries, or unwavering standards for arrogance or coldness, but in reality, it's a refusal to compromise on what is true. They expose inconsistencies not to humiliate or dominate, but because distortion cannot exist in their presence without consequence. When someone lies, cheats, or deceives, the Sigma female doesn't waste time with sugarcoating. She embodies truth in a way that is impossible to ignore, forcing others to confront realities they've been avoiding. This can be unsettling, but it is transformative. She is like a compass that doesn't bend, Anyone trying to manipulate, obscure, or avoid responsibility quickly discovers that her alignment is immovable. Her dedication to accuracy extends to every aspect of her life. She chooses actions, relationships, and words carefully, always weighing whether they reflect integrity rather than convenience. She doesn't shrink, perform, or dilute herself for acceptance. Her presence is a natural filter, attracting those willing to face reality and repelling those who are not. People often feel exposed, frustrated, or even resentful because they instinctively recognize that their own compromises are being reflected back at them. This unwavering commitment to truth makes Sigma females catalytic in every environment. They are the rare individuals who recalibrate spaces without demanding attention or performing for recognition. Their influence is subtle but seismic, reshaping dynamics, revealing patterns, and forcing accountability simply by existing fully in alignment with themselves. They are not liked by default, but their presence is impossible to ignore. In a world addicted to appeasement, compromise, and pretense, the Sigma female stands as a living reminder that being accurate, unyielding, and true is far more powerful than being popular, liked, or superficially admired. Sigma females are not defined by what they take, give, or perform for the world. They are defined by their presence, their clarity, and their unwavering alignment with truth and integrity. From the very beginning, their paths are forged through isolation, betrayal, and experiences that demand resilience. They don't arrive to be understood, admired, or liked. They arrive to restore balance, expose distortion, and illuminate what has been hidden for too long. Every choice they make, every boundary they set, and every moment of stillness or observation ripples outward, shaping the world around them in ways most people don't notice until the impact is undeniable. They carry wisdom that feels instinctual, almost remembered, and their empathy is precise, cutting through illusion without drowning in sentimentality. Sigma females don't bend for approval, chase validation, or compromise themselves to comfort others. Instead, they recalibrate spaces simply by existing fully, consistently, and unshakably in alignment with what is real. Their strength is quiet but seismic. Their femininity commands respect without asking for it, and their presence forces reflection, accountability, and growth in everyone around them. They attract those who are aligned with integrity, repel those who cling to dishonesty, and challenge everyone else to either face themselves or step aside. In essence, Sigma females are living proofs that true power, clarity, and influence do not need to shout, perform, or manipulate. They move through the world like a force of nature, quietly but irreversibly altering everything in their orbit. Their role is not to be liked. It is to be accurate, to hold space for truth, and to embody a standard that the world unconsciously measures itself against. To encounter a Sigma female is to face reality in its purest form, and whether people are ready or not, her presence leaves an imprint that lasts far beyond a passing moment. If this resonated with you, make sure you don't miss the next deep dive. Subscribe to the channel for more eye-opening insights. Hit that like button to show your support, comment below with your thoughts and experiences, and share this with anyone who needs to understand the profound influence of Sigma females. Every action you take helps amplify truth, awareness, and the kind of clarity that changes perspectives.